everyone, Argsy here. Welcome along to another Farming Simulator 25 video. Now, one of the new features that came with FS25 was, of course, swathing and the MacDon pack, and we've got the MacDon swather and the MacDon draper head there in front of us, as well as the pickup header on the combine, which begged the question, what is the benefit of swathing a crop? Now, in real life, farmers would swath a crop to effectively stop it growing anymore and help speed up the drying process. So in regions that may not have a long summer, have a really short harvest window, they'd do that to basically stop the crop growing and help it dry out. Other farmers would use a herbicide and spray the crop to effectively kill it to do the same effect. So there's a couple of different ways that that's done. So that's the real life practical application of swathing. But what about in Farming Simulator 25? Now, of course, just have a look there. We've got a wheat field which is ready to harvest. We're on the starter farm on Riverbend Springs. We can't harvest when they're green, or at least we don't know. We might just have to test that with the draper. But what I do want to know is there any benefit to using the swather over just your normal combine? And we've got the header there, the grain header there for the combine as well. So we're going to run a little bit of a test. Of course, when you're swathing, you've got to go through the crop twice, effectively, once with the swather, once with the pickup head, whereas with the combine, you can pick up the crop in one go. So we're going to jump in. We've saved the game as it is. We're going to jump in with the swather, swath this field, go through and pick it up and measure how much grain we get off this one, and then we will go through, reload the save, and do exactly the same with the grain header, and just do a little bit of a test and see exactly what we end up with. Now, the other thing we've got sitting in the back there on the back of the Vulture, we do have a pickup wagon. I thought, well, if we're going to test if there's any benefits to harvesting with it, we better test to see if there is any differences in the amount of straw you can get as well. So we'll do a twofold test on that. So that's the plan. We're going to jump into it. This is the starter farm on Riverbend Springs, like I said. You can see there we've got field 3. It doesn't matter what state it's in because we're going to use exactly the same field at exactly the same stage for both of these tests. So let's jump into it. Let's go and get the swather up and running and see what the results are. Alright, so here we are, we're in the MacDon with the swather up and running. We've got the draper head set up, and we are actually using a little bit of steering assist here to get this field done. Now, it's a bit hard to compare, but there is actually a slight difference. We'll just pop down and have a little bit of this look at the swath there. The swath is slightly different here. In fact, if we just stop just quickly, you can still see, because it's wheat, you can see the grain heads there, the bushels off the wheat sitting right there on top. So it hasn't been through the harvester yet, hasn't been through the combine, so those are still all in one place, which is effectively the intention of this. So let's carry on. We're going to just jump into a little time-lapse race through this field. It's not going to take us too long to get done, and then we'll jump into the combine, get that pickup header up and going, and see what the results are, see how much grain we can get off using this method. Alright, well there we go, just a little bit that we couldn't quite pick up with the width. Obviously using the steering assist dictated this was how the field would be done. I don't think it would have mattered whatever way we did it. We were always going to be left with this little strip. But there we go, that is us all done with the swathing. So get all that turned off and head out of the field. I'll park this up on the side, and then it's time to jump into the CR11. Now, of course, horribly oversized for the size of the field we're working in at the moment, but hey, for the test I thought what better excuse to get out and have a drive of this beautiful looking combine. So it's going to jump up into the air and we will go and make a start. But as we were talking about before, you can really get down in there, you can see in that swath, you can really see all of the straw, all of the bushels, the heads there off the wheat plant. So let's go jump up into the combine, go make a start on that. So we've got everything turned on here, get that header lowered down. We've managed to set up, because of the way we use the steering assist, we've actually managed to set up on the same path, use the same header width as the swather is at 12.2 metres, and we can run along and pretty much use exactly the same course, which is a nice little touch, nice to be able to do that. You can get a little sense on the different swath there as it's coming out the back now. You can kind of see a different colour. It's a little more brown. I think the swath with the grain still in it's a little more golden would probably be the best way to describe it. But there we go. We'll test and see if that straw does have any difference between the two modes. But let's just again race through this one very, very fast. It shouldn't take too long. The other advantage of having the straw swath on, it does make it a bit easier to try and spot where all the pieces of crop are and making sure we do get it all. So let's just race through, get this done, see how much we end up with. Well, here we are, last pass and last little bit of the field, and we'll be able to get a grand total there on what we've got. So we didn't have to unload, we ended up with just over 15,400 litres, 15,419, or 77% in the combine. So that's our reference point. That is what we're going to start out with. There's no point dumping it in the truck because we don't need to. We are going to go and very quickly jump into the tractor, we'll run the pickup wagon across and see how much straw we've got. And then it will be time to exit out and reload the save and run that grain header over there through the same field and see what we end up with. So let's go, grab the pickup wagon and get that straw picked up. Alright, same tactic again, we'll use the steering assist set up at 12.2 metres wide. See how we go with getting this picked up. I did forget as we were running around with the combine that the straw discharge does carry on a little bit after the pickup's finished, so we've got a few spots like we do have just here in front of us which are a little bit harder to pick up, but we'll tidy those up. So let's again jump into a time-lapse race around, get this done and see what we end up with from straw. Alright, well there we go, that is a full trailer load plus 14,132 litres. I can't remember now, was it 45,500 I think the capacity of this, maybe 46,500. Isn't it interesting when you dump that much straw on the ground, how big a pile it makes coming out of this little trailer. I mean, it's a big trailer, but it expands a lot as a fill type on the ground. There's a few little bits we didn't quite get picked up, but I think for the purposes of the exercise, that is a pretty good wrap on there. So again, 14,132 litres of straw there. And jump back in the combine here, we've got 15,419 litres of wheat. So there's our comparison. Let's reload the save and we'll see what we end up running the normal grain header. Alright, so here we are, we've reloaded the game save as I said we would. We've got the grain header on the front of the CR11. And we're just going to jump in here and carry on, get this field harvested, see exactly what we end up with. Just for a reference, here is the field info. It has a 37% yield bonus on it and has 0% fertilizer. It doesn't need lime, but that is the same as it's been for both the fields because, well, we've used the same field. We've just restarted the save. So let's jump up on here and we'll crack into it. Right, we're just going to drive in here far enough so we can start dropping our straw swath. In fact, I think this is so wide, we might just drive this manually. I was going to set up some steering assist, but it's such a big header. I think it's 16 metres wide compared to the 12.2 metre wide swather header. So again, another bonus. Not only do we only have to go through the crop once, but we can actually do it with a bigger header and therefore less passes than we have to if we're using the pickup header. So yeah, a little bit of a bonus there for that. Anyhow, let's time-lapse this. We'll get through this field, take out a signpost with the header, and we'll see what we end up with. Alright, well there we go. Last pass done, and you can see quite clearly there was more crop from swathing. So there is a yield bonus from running through and using the swathing, which I guess makes sense considering the extra effort that is needed to be put in there. But let's run through and pick up the straw, and we will crunch the final numbers, figure out exactly how much it might work out to be once we're finished, and wrap things up. Well, I don't even know if we need to finish this test because we can already see we're only just going to get a full trailer load, 49,500 litres, with just a little bit left on the field. What have we got there in front of us? Not much at all. That piece there, and then there's a couple of little pieces all around there. So 49,500, we ended up with, what was it, about 14,000 more than that last time. So we will empty it out. We'll go and dump it out and make sure we do this complete. Finished off, but it's certainly going to be a bonus there using the swather, bonus on the amount of straw you get as well. So we've ended up with 1,508 litres of straw on top of the 49,500 litres we'd already picked, which gives a grand total 51,008 litres of straw compared to the 63,632 we picked up in the swather. I'll put all the figures up now so you can compare the wheat and the straw yields between the swathed and unswathed. And as you'll see there, the 12,340 litres of wheat unswathed converted to 15,419 litres when we use the swather. So just short of a 25% bonus there on the grain yield. On the straw, obviously we've got a 24.75% yield bonus. So once again, very, very close to the 25%. From that, I take it there is quite a sizable bonus to run through and use the swather on top of a combine. It's a little bit extra work, obviously. You've got to go across the field twice. You can't necessarily use quite as wide a header because, as we saw there with the CR11, it does have quite a big wide header. So if you're doing this in a big field, there is going to be quite a lot of time commitment to doing it. So there we go. I guess that sums up that there is a bit of a benefit to running the swather when you're harvesting your grain crops. So one question this test does raise, we've only looked at wheat, there are 4 other crops that can be swathed as well, 5 total. So the question is the yield bonus consistent and the same across all of these crops? So we might go through and have a look at that. And just looking here in the store at the windrower we were using, we've got the swathing header, the D140XL, that will do wheat, barley, oats, canola and soybeans. So there's the 5 different crops there. So we've tested out the wheat. Maybe we'll do some sample plots and try those other 4 out in a second video as a bit of a follow-up to that. Before we do that, I did have one more test that I did want to go and have a look at. So the additional crop bonus or yield bonus that swathing gives you got me thinking, if you were to swath a field for a contract, can you get the extra crop and keep hold of it? So we've taken on a contract here, field number 10. This is an oat field, I believe. So I thought we'd set up things down here. We've got the same setup, just a different type of combine, but the swather here with the pickup header as well as the grain header. And I thought we'd just come in here and see if we can swath it. So get this powered up. It's already lowered down, so we'll head on here into the field. And that's about as far as our test is going to go because it's telling us we don't have access to the land. So there you go. Because it's a contract, it's obviously looking for you to harvest it with a combine, not to harvest it here with the swather. So at the moment, unless that was changed, there's no benefit to being able to do that as a contract. Now, it does pose the question, I suppose, why should you not be able to harvest this using this equipment if this was the way you'd set your farm up? It would mean you wouldn't be able to do a contract unless you also owned a grain header instead of just the pickup. So maybe it's something that needs to be patched in the future. Maybe we'll give that as a little bit of a feedback to Giants. So there we go. Thought we'd test it and we have been answered. But great to see that when you're using this MacDon pack, when you're using the swather, you can get a yield bonus out of using it, which is fantastic. Now, friendly reminder, if you didn't get the MacDon pack as part of a pre-order, you can still buy that individually. Of course, you can use the partner code ARGSY Gaming in the Giants store when you're doing that, and that works across both the Giants game version as well as Epic and Steam. So regardless of which version you have purchased it for, you can buy it all that way. So a good way to help support the channel. But there we go, that's the end of that test. Keep an eye out for the follow-up video where we do look at those other crops and see if there is an equal or different yield bonus depending on what crop you harvest. So I hope you found that one useful, I hope you found it informative. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.